How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back. I whistled in there again. I can't whistle like command, but I can certainly whistle when I'm doing an intro. Welcome to Chaos Head. So, it got real spicy last episode. We have everyone bursting out D swords. Either they just gained them, like Yua did, or might have always had them, or might have always recently got them, like Nanami. We also know that the Nanami that Taku, like our Taku, has been seeing has likely been a delusion, which is also explains why she was so tolerant of his ridiculousness. And every time he tries to have a lifeline, it keeps getting yanked away from him, which is probably about how they intend to make him draw his D sword. I think it's through despair. But it sucks because it's like just so brutal. It's so dark and brutal, and it's just crappy. And even like the guy he talks to online was saying like, hey, you should go to this festival. That's like, if you want to die, that's where you can do it. And then he has like the voice in his head, which is also probably a delusion. That's, of his, I don't know. What's the name of the figure? I know its name, but like she like talks to him in his head. Although it's odd, though, because if she is a delusion that's, like, from outside, she was telling him not to grab the D-sword last time. So, I don't know. Maybe having opposing voices is an important part of the process, but now she's like, oh, yeah, you should go to that festival, too. Everything's pointing him in this direction. Like, everything's funneling him. And it looks like everyone's kind of moving in the exact direction and being put in the exact places that Nozomi wants them. The only, exception might have been Yua. She pulled her D-sword, but then the guy that was, using one of the devices to make her see her sister got attacked and disrupted by ISA. So, I don't know if that was intentional or not. We'll have to see. But yeah, it's insane, and it sucks. Nanami, real Nanami, who was friends with Rimi, she did have her hand cut off. She was being captured and now has a D sword. Because she's also good. It's all just nuts. And also Rimi's also a delusional being. Likely a delusional being cooked up as a perfect girlfriend or an ideal girlfriend. And like I said before, way back when, she has such a similar resemblance to the anime character that it's probably not a coincidence. But we also learned that she's not the first Rimi. It sounds like when Nozomi saw her, she maybe was the first manifested, entity, a person that they ever found. And so they've been doing experiments on her ever since she appeared. And basically, every time one of the delusions decides to end itself, a new one is born with a slightly altered personality. To kind of continue the delusional existence, but has a slight change to them, maybe to try and help them survive. And if that's the case too, maybe that's planting the seed of what's going to happen in this episode, because maybe if we do end ourselves, it starts a new version of us that can make different choices. I don't know. It's confusing. I'm not sure what to expect here. So yeah, I pretty much only stopped last week because it was just going so long. And so I'm not sure what to expect. I get the feeling we're building towards something big. So I guess we're going to have to just sit back, relax, and just see how it goes. All I know is that it's probably not going to be fun. I don't think we're getting to an end of the story, but it feels like we're really building up. Everyone having all their D swords, all this talk about the end of the world. Suwa being a traitor, by the way, I almost glossed that over. I think Ban's gone. We didn't technically see him dead, but it seemed pretty clear he's gone. And that's sad because he's a cool character, but I want to see where we're going from here, because it feels like, as things are, the bad guys are just going to win. How could they possibly lose at this point? Because even the biggest things we think we've seen that have been progress about resisting them almost feels like everything's been intentional. It's what they've wanted to bring about. And now they're going to bring about this third event of some kind, and it's probably going to be much more disastrous. And it reminds me too, the scale. So they had their first event, which was a small earthquake and a few deaths. The second event, they had a bigger earthquake and a big flash of white light and a few hundred deaths, but they had that meeting afterward where it said like, hey, you projected only 50 deaths, and they're like, yeah, we had more than we expected, but you know, it comes with the territory. And now this time they're predicting about 1,000 deaths, and if the scale keeps growing up exponentially, it's probably gonna be a lot more than 1,000. So that's gonna be fun. Not. All right, let's get going. Let's see how this plays out. Whenever I got close to the sound, it would move further away, almost like it was guiding me somewhere. That might entail denote those guys with the backpack devices, like have them standing in tactical positions and kind of do like a chain of like these like lures, you could say. Every time I seemed to be onto it, it would quickly become distant. Every time I seemed to lose track of it, it would come close and wait for me, as though it had a will of its own. As sound with a will of its own. It reminded me of Shogun's existence. His face flashed through my mind, but I quickly grew indifferent to it. Whether it was him or someone else, as long as someone killed me, I didn't mind. I even stopped wondering about the true nature of the sound. I was a delusionary existence, and I was going to die pretty soon, so there was no point in caring. With my head completely empty of all thoughts, like a moth to flame, I staggered after the sound. I hate how helpless it feels, like he's just a tool in their hands, like that he's a puppet on strings, you know. It feels like almost everybody is, though. And by the way, this is loud. Holy crap. A barrage of noise now surrounded me. I was unable to differentiate any of them. With a click of my tongue, I tried to find the origin of the clamor, only to gulp instead. Oh, cool. Suddenly, without me having realized it, I was standing in Scramble Crossing. It was then that I realized that the clamor was coming from the sheer number of people crammed into the crossing. It was almost jam-packed. Everyone was pushing right up against each other like the morning train ride during rush hour. Compared to when I'd been broadcasted from the top of Oakfront, there was an even bigger number of people here. Now that I thought about it, Graham had mentioned something about this, something about there being a festival at the Scramble Crossing tonight. What the hell is this, Sierra? I have nothing but horrible memories of this place. Why did you bring me here? Sierra, that's right, that's the name of the anime character. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. My brain feels scrambled as it is. For revenge? Again, it's like that whole thing is like, I feel like such a sucker for like ignoring these buttons, but Rimi said she didn't want us to do it anymore, and I kind of agree. I feel like these are distractions. They've been interesting so far, but with so much on the line now, I don't want to be like distracted or miss something important. And plus, in our current state of mind, I doubt the green option is even going to be remotely pleasant. It'll start and then turn into something horrific, and if we choose red, it's just going to be horrific. So let's just stay the course and keep it going. Where is the person who's going to kill me, Sierra? A tremendous crowd on this cold autumn night. Just what kind of festival could make so many people gather here to the point of there being no room to breathe? Suddenly, the wall of people opened up before me like I was Moses from the Bible. A single path inviting me in. That is actually kind of impressive, to get a crowd to spontaneously do that. That would be really something. They were all waiting for one person, me. It's the reality TV show that's sweeping the nation. Today's episode, the world's most terrifying offline NEET. People from all over the net have come to lynch the biggest embarrassment in all Japan, Nishijo Takumi, right in the middle of Shibuya. The catchphrase, whose eyes are those eyes? When that long scenario played out in my mind, I laughed. God, that laugh. As much as I hated pain, as long as I would die, I'd be more than willing to deal with that much. I had finally grasped what Sierra had meant by revenge. I hadn't died the last time I was here, so they had prepared this stage just for me. Forming a lazy smile stemming from the corner of my mouth, I started making my way through the path between the people. At the end of it, I could see various members of the mass media standing next to each other like idiots, cameras and microphones in hand. Both the onlookers and the mass media were incredibly tense. There was a tiny bit of commotion, but nowhere near the amount you'd normally hear at a festival. All the energy they'd had back when I'd humiliated myself on top of Ophront was gone. Everyone looked at me. Their eyes were cold and sharp, staring daggers at me with what felt like close to murderous intent. Whether I liked it or not, my expectations were swelling higher and higher. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. When I looked up, I realized that all 4 of the enormous jumbotrons were showing footage of me walking through the crowd. I was sure that just like last time, this was a national broadcast too. If the viewer rate was even 40%, I'd die while being watched by approximately 48 million people. The death of me, who was no more than a delusionary existence, the death of me who had no value whatsoever, the death of me who was wholly and entirely worthless. Is that what you all want to see? Well then congratulations, here you go. Doesn't matter either way to me, as long as I die, I don't care how many people see it. I almost wonder, could this be part of like their experiment? Like, when they want to do these like experimental like dissipations of like this, the weird like MI energy or whatever that stuff is called, I wonder if like the destruction of a delusion that has been realized physically is a part of that, because that could be interesting. Because like, how does reality cope with a delusion that's been made manifest by you know, the perspectives and the perceptions of others if it dies by force? Is like all that like negative energy is released? It'd almost be like matter and antimatter clashing. Could that have been what we saw? Because that could explain a lot, like the EMP burst, because that would be just a release of pure raw like Big Bang type of energy, and the flash of white light, but then like nothing being left behind, because all that like the negative matter and the positive matter or antimatter and matter combining like annihilate each other, so it just leaves like void in the middle. That could explain that actually, because you think of Taku and these other creations like the D swords, they're almost like, when they're realized, when they manifest, I'm guessing it's basically antimatter, like enveloped by a protective shell. So the antimatter has like different properties because of the material it's made of is not actual matter at all. It has like fundamentally different like makeup, but it has some kind of sheath around it of protection that comes from the perception and the manifestation of it as being real. Like it has like an effect on the quantum level that stabilizes it when normally it couldn't be, but that's because matter at the quantum level seems to have some type of influence based on perception. Very interesting stuff there. But so you have that idea, it's like where you manifest it fully into existence, but it's made of antimatter. And then if you unravel that, like the antimatter stays because it's been manifest, but the protective barrier falls, then the antimatter and matter hit and instantly annihilate each other. And so, yeah, but if that is what is happening, that's insane, because the matter and antimatter collision would be several magnitudes more destructive than the fusion reaction of that like ignites and powers suns, and way stronger than any super like nuclear device that we've built. Because again, like the strongest nuclear devices we have are fusion based. Like it's a fission reaction that fuels into a fusion reaction that causes a detonation that's greater than anything we've ever seen, or like ever used in warfare. Hopefully ever. We'd never use it, but matter antimatter is such a pure destructive force, it would be on a magnitude thousands of millions of times greater. So if that were what they're actually going for, the level of insanity that is crazy, because it would literally, it could destroy the planet, it could crack it in half, it could destroy the solar system if it actually were a full, like if you had like a pound of antimatter and you combine it with a pound of like just normal matter. And I'm saying a pound isn't like, not a, I guess maybe pounds is bad because that's based on weight and density, and who knows what that would be. So imagine like a briefcase full of it. That probably would be enough to destroy our solar system, and I would guess it could destroy probably nearby solar systems too, or at least disrupt them, because it would basically unravel all like so much matter in like a few seconds and release all their energy. Because even in fusion, like the release of the energy from a fusion reaction is simply excess from the nuclei like being forced together and then like bonding. And it's like no matter is really lost in that process I guess maybe there might be some neutrons that get like obliterated in that, and that's some of the energy that's released. It's just some portions and fractions of those atoms as they smash together, releasing energy. If you take all the energy inside those atoms and release them all, like every part of it, from the proton, neutrons, and electrons, all of it, like that's just insane to think about. And so I stood before the battery of cameras and microphones. A swarm of flashes burst in unison. Blinding lights flashed intermittently. Straining my eyes, I fought to endure them. Then a reporter that was probably in his 40s spoke up. I'd seen him on a number of talk shows before.
Nishijo君、今回はどんなパフォーマンスを見せてくれるんだい？ところで、実は今日の昼に逮捕された貼り付け事件の容疑者は実行犯に過ぎなくて黒幕がいるっていう話があるんだけど、どう思うかな？
Why was this random guy acting all buddy-buddy with me? And what was the last part supposed to mean? Was he asking for my opinion? Huh, guess when the media called up for criminal psychology professors every time, they always said the same standard, uninteresting bullcrap, even if an amateur like me could serve as a replacement. Regardless, I couldn't have any less of an opinion on what the guy was asking about. I'd lost all interest in NewGen. I'd come here to be killed, not to answer questions. I had no energy for it.
それでね、西条君、ズバリ聞くけど、真犯人と目される人物は通称その目誰の目と言われていて、それは君なんじゃないかっていう噂があるんだよね。
そうかもね。
My whispers were broadcast all throughout Shibuya via the Jumbotron speakers. Commotion ensued. The bloodthirsty atmosphere got even stronger among the people gathered here.
どうでもいい。
Just kill me already. Just set me free. Stop asking me for things. And yet, despite my wishes, the microphone came even closer. They were pushed so violently toward me, the next step would be shoving one straight in my mouth. The other reporters, too, were raining questions down on me incessantly.
それは事件への関与を認める発言と考えていいんですか？
現実とゲームとの区別ができなくなるような経験はありますか？
Oh, of course, that's the line.
逮捕された狛江容疑者との関係について聞かせてください。
人を殺したのはやはりゲーム感覚だったりします？
Of course. In a sense, I was like a video game character. Someone, please reset me. Just get me to the game over once and for all.
早く殺してよ。
As soon as those words left my mouth, the crowd, at the peak of its tension, exploded.
死ね！
人でなし、鬼畜！
殺してやるよ！
地獄に落ちる！
死刑にしろ！ぶち殺せ！殺人鬼！
I was overwhelmed by the waves of people and the screams and shouts swarmed. I was swallowed up by the undulating masses. I was tossed around and jostled, crushed but to nothing and pulverized. Being shoved by people in all directions, my body started floating. My souls left the ground. No matter how much I struggled, I couldn't do anything. I was struck on the head, punched in the arms. But none of it was painful enough to kill me. With no room to breathe, I started to suffocate, but I didn't resist. I entrusted my body to the chaos, and in doing so, the pressure suddenly disappeared and my body fell to the floor. Seratan fell from my hand and toppled onto the asphalt. Countless feet lined up like trees in a forest as they writhed around. My waifu rolled through the gaps between them. Despite extending my hand, I couldn't reach her. Her face, complete with that endlessly radiant smile of hers, the smile that soothed my soul, was stepped on by someone's shoe. Her small body was kicked further away, and some lady in red heels ended up crushing her torso.
Sarah?
No matter how much I called out to her, no answer came. My one and only ally was gone. Felt like my chest was being crushed by sorrow. I had lost all reason to stay in the world, to live. And when I looked up, surrounded by people as I was, the night sky was hidden away from me. No one noticed I was there, slumped down on the ground. Even though I was right here, even though I was asking for someone to kill me. Why was everyone ignoring me? Suddenly, I felt it right on the nape of my neck. That tingling sensation. God's gaze.
君は
And within my mind,
ここで死んじゃダメだ。
interesting. A certain voice rang. That's not Sua, is it? Like, I don't. Like, that'd be silly if it were, but like, it's not him, right? That's like the only person I feel like I've heard that before. Or it could be Taku, real Taku. I gulped.
理想度を手に入れて
And firmly gritted my back teeth.
Shogun!
Okay, so it's just him. I searched for that wheelchair among the crowd for that bee cosplaying as Darth Spider. So you were the one behind this festival, huh? I knew it. You planning to wheel out here and threaten me all while you're in your offensive Darth Spider cosplay? You trying to recreate what happened last time? I wished for death. The entire time I'd been alive, I'd just been some tool for everyone's amusement, and I couldn't take it anymore.
あの時の自称将軍は僕じゃない。僕はコスプレはしないよ。
I don't care. Just kill me, please.
あいつらが動き出しているんだ。この場は今以上の混乱になるよ。
They?
すべての黒幕。この混乱を引き起こした者たち。混乱を利用して利己を追求しようとする者たち。
Oh, interesting. So that's almost implying that Shogun, like the real Shogun, like not the Shogun that was being used by Sua, but like the real one, is resisting them. Maybe like he was used and puppeted and then he like escaped, and now he like is just kind of hiding from them, which is why he stays in the hospital all that time.
彼らを止められるのは君だけなんだ。
I stood up. The angry voices kept surging above my head. No one was looking at me. The onlookers and the people from the media were all jumbled together, grabbing each other, cursing at each other, punching each other. Why were they...
沈黙の兵器。
The silent weapon. Oh, like they're controlling the media and stirring them up into a riot, basically. Purposefully.
ノア2はすでに稼働してる。この混乱が起とされた一番の目的は無差別人体実験。
Indiscriminate human experimentation. Dang. Could you imagine? Like, it's probably... The sad thing is, like, it makes you wonder how real this could be. I imagine there's been lots of, unaccountable human experimentation that's occurred. Like, stuff that's done in secret. But indiscriminate. Something hard hit my head. A sharp pain ran through me, a pain so intense I thought my skull had been broken. My hands automatically shot up to my head and cradled it. As I looked around with tears in my eyes, I found a rock on the ground the size of a fist, a tiny smear of blood colored part of it. Someone had thrown that rock and it hit me. A throbbing pain coursed through me. Moving my hand toward the source, my fingers touched something sticky. Bringing my hand down from my face, I saw blood on my fingertips, my own blood. That's a gun. I heard a dry explosion in the distance, followed by a lady screaming. A gunshot? There were people with guns here? Why was everyone so worked up? Why was everyone fighting each other despite being total strangers? Why was this so chaotic? The villain's sacrifice everyone was waiting for wasn't mine?
渋谷の GE レート。バイオリズムがありえないくらいに上昇してるんだよ。
Right, the GE.
言ったでしょ。無差別人体実験だって。この場にいる人たちは今、見えない攻撃を受けているんだ。
Then I heard a sound, a creaking, rusting sound. A sound akin to dying woman gasping for air. The sound of a wheelchair. Despite how many people there were, despite the wall of people surging erratically, Shogun moved his wheelchair forward. And without bumping into anyone, without getting dragged into a single fight, he made his way straight to me. Hey, Taku. Ever so small, with a body of skin and bone, he was covered in wrinkles. He looked so frail as if he might break at the slightest touch. His eyes were cloudy as could be. I didn't know what he was looking at, nor what he saw through those eyes. I couldn't bring myself to look away anymore, and suddenly the tumult surrounding me began to grow distant.
ずっと君を見ていたよ。
It's kind of weird seeing his mouth move. I don't know why. It was the same voice as the time we'd first met. It wasn't the strange voice I'd heard in the O front.
君は誰なの？僕は君だよ。
Yeah. And with those few words, I finally understood.
僕を妄想して生み出したのも
神の自然の正体も君だったんだね。
Oh, that's kind of funny that the god's gaze was always him. So the whose eyes are those eyes? They're my eyes. They're my own. And that's the whole idea, is he probably created Taku as a stand-in for himself, because he, like, his life got ended when he was discovered and the IR2 like formula was created. And so Taku was meant to be a delusionary existence that he could like follow, live through, experience life through. He was my creator, the existence who had envisioned me within a delusion, someone I could never hope to match up to.
君の名前は
西条匠。
The real me, the original me.
君はいくつなの？
君と同い年だよ。君の設定とね。
So his backstory was probably just his own story. 17 years old, even though he was so small, even though he was covered in wrinkles, he was 17 years old.
このままだと世界が死んじゃう。ノア2にあらゆる人の心は支配されちゃう。だから君に託したんだ。
Entrusted what exactly?
意味がわかんないよ。そんなの僕には関係ない。頼むよ。僕を消して。今すぐに消してほしい。
Shogun's wrinkles stirred. He was likely making an expression, but I couldn't see it as anything other than wrinkles shifting on his face.
全部僕のせいなんだ。僕が IR2 を妄想しちゃったせいで。
He deluded IR2, so he made up his own, like, formula, manifested it, and now it's being used in real life.
なんとか止めようとしたけど、僕はこんな体だから満足に動くこともできない。それで君を生み出した。君に止めてもらうために。
そんなの知らない。僕は君のコピーだけど、僕はやりたくない。コピーだけが苦しまなくちゃいけないなんて、そんなの嫌だ。死なせてよ。
君はコピーじゃない。もう一人の僕だ。
つまりコピーじゃないか。君のしてることはすごく残酷だ。
So, there's one way to look at this where he's like a copy because he's a delusion that's manifest, and that is basically just like, oh, now you're life. But here's the thing, all people who are born are just kind of like, here's life. The other thing I kind of want to remember is that it's like twins. You get biological, like identical twins. They are genetically the same person, but if you ever meet any of them, you'll know that they're completely different people. It's the same thing with clones. I remember there was a story of like these perpetualized beliefs, or these ideas that like you could have like eternal life by like you get old and then you would make a clone of yourself and then you would continue to exist. But it's like, but each clone, just because they have the same genetic makeup as you, would be a different person, unless you could then to transcribe like memories and stuff into them, like where they could like start their life with all the information and personality that you have. Then it might be a way of like perpetuating your existence. But even so, the original you still would die. It's just you'd have a copy that's perfect. That seems more close to what we're seeing here, which is like it's supposed to be a copy that's nearly perfect, like a snapshot of himself. But at the same time, as soon as he's created that Taku, you should view them as an individual person. And maybe that's what Shogun was trying to do, which is why he was so hands-off with him. Like maybe he watched him, which is why the whose eyes are those eyes would happen. But it's also like he wanted to like let him have his own life, no matter what shape that life took. Which is kind of idealistic, but I also feel like he gave him a disadvantage because when things started to go weird on him, he had no avenue of learning the truth. He was manipulated heavily. So how are we supposed to even trust this? Even though I feel like this is the first time I feel like someone's being honest with Taku, I feel like at the same time, he's been so abused and manipulated even to get here. Like, why should he trust it?
悪かったって思ってるよ。でも、他に方法はなかった。今世界の命運は、君にかかっていると言っても過言じゃないんだ。だから。
そんなの、 そんなのリミに頼めばいいじゃないか。知り合いなんでしょ。
Acquaintances. I'd say that on purpose, but I didn't want to think they were lovers or good friends. And so only then did I realize my feelings. I was jealous of the original me, and that was rich, coming from a delusionary existence. What a fetching disgrace. I couldn't believe myself. There was not knowing your place, and then there was this. My own feelings made me want to throw up. My emotions continued to spiral. I wanted to die.
リミは、ナナミを助けに行って、逆に捕まっちゃったんだ。
え？
リミはね、僕を救おうとしてくれていた。その理由は、君も知っているよね。
Right.
あれは空。あの空は
The sky.
どうしてあんなに泣きたくなるくらい青いのかな。
それを望んだから。
私は望んでない。
僕が望んだんだ。ここは君の心象世界であると同時に、僕の心象世界でもあるから。
Okay. That's right, we saw her here. Rimi turned toward me. She stared at me, her face deeply puzzled.
あなた誰？ここには私以外はいないはずなのに。あなたは別の私？
違うよ。
だったら誰？どうやってここに来たの？私の心の中だよ。ずっと暗闇しかなかった。光は私に当たるスポットライトだけ。
Right, so this is the space where the Rimis, where they were being, when they were being manipulated, it was like maybe their haven, their mental, their mental, safe box.
それなのに、あなたが来た途端に暗闇がなくなって空ができた。
妄想がシンクロしたんだ。君の力がとても強かったから。
Okay.
そう。
Rimi looked up toward the sky once more. It was crystal clear, azure sky.
私、本物の空、見たことないんだ。
Yeah.
私っていう人格が生まれた時にはね、もう暗い部屋に閉じ込められてた。心の中も外も闇しかなかった。
So yeah, after they trapped the original delusion, every incarnation of the new personality that came when the old one just gave up, their only existence was the same prison that caused the first one to break.
そこからは絶対に出してもらえないの。私、今死のうとしてたんだ。
Yeah.
心を自殺させるの。きっとこれまでの私もそうしてきたと思うし。でもせっかくあなたが空を持ってきてくれたから、この光景を記憶に刻んでおいていいかな。次の私がまたこうして想像できるように。
Of course.
死にたいの？
うん。
本当の空を見てみたいとは思わないの？
ねえ、空って本当にあるのかな？
Dang. Can you imagine the sky being something you could only daydream about? I almost wonder that would be the fate of imagine we put a colony on the moon or on Mars, and you had a few generations live up there. And it's like, what if you lived in a world of bubbles, of containers, basically living inside a submarine, extended, larger, but a submarine, where you're only inside a structure or a spacesuit and never anything else. You never just got to feel big open air, breathable atmosphere, open sky, without some kind of barrier there. What would that do to people? Like, imagine living in that type of, like, that was just your normal daily life, and everything was like, it was all you'd ever experienced. And then take one of those people who'd grown up just inside all the time. Like, Mars is the better example because it's far enough away, it would be challenging to travel back and forth to. And then you brought them to Earth and just opened the pod and just let them walk outside for the first time. Like, what would that experience be like for somebody?
あるよ。でも現実の空はこの空よりも汚れてる。
どこにある？あの空はどこにあるの？
君が望めばどこにでも。
望んでいいの？
Of course.
もちろんだよ。
どうやって望むの？
光は電磁場の波。その振動現象を人の視覚は色として捉えるんだ。自分のデッドスポットに望む色を当てはめてごらん。そうすれば君の望む世界の色を作り出せる。
Interesting. So the part of the way that he's describing of controlling their delusions is like kind of hijacking the body's own natural delusion. Remember the dead spots where your eye can't actually perceive stuff, but like it simulates what it imagines would be there to try and make a seamless picture for your view, which is literally how your vision works. And so he's saying like, hey, if you have the foresight and the ability to like know where your own blind spots are and then can inject your own like thoughts into those and make them manifest and like your brain basically is projecting to itself something that it wants to see, and then it communicates it back through the natural nerve endings as if it is being seen, and then it tells the rest of your brain that it is real. Like you're basically like juking yourself, and that is how they can manifest delusions into reality.
世界は君の望みに応えてくれるよ。
Interesting. Several days, even months perhaps, then had passed since that encounter, and one day Rimi had come to my hospital room. She and I were fellow patients at the same hospital. Fellow possessors of something that transcended human understanding, the power of giglomania, an attribute we were unsure whether to abhor or take great pride in.
お兄、お客さんだよ。ねえねえ、誰？彼女さん、いつの間に？やるね、お兄ってば。
So this must be real Nanami visiting real Taku.
また会えたね。
She was deeply haggard. Her skin was morbidly pale, her hair was dry and neglected, growing according to its own whims, her fingernails were cracked. Her eyes constantly squinted, as if dazzled by the brilliant light.
本物の空は見られた？
うん。あ、そうだ。
Nanami, who had been watching us talking, suddenly clapped her hands in a prayer to remembrance.
ナナ、お洗濯してこなくちゃ。リミさんでしたっけ？どうぞごゆっくり。
Aww. That's cute. Nanami was always good. Nanami left the room. Rimi and I vacantly watched her depart. Rimi then turned back toward me.
匠はいつから入院してるの
5年ぐらい。
5 years. Okay, so since he was 12.
退院の予定は
ないよ。僕の余命はあと2年ぐらいだと思うし。
Okay.
私はあなたのおかげで頑張ることができた。終わりなんて絶対にないと思ってた。でもあなたが教えてくれた空を見るまで頑張ろうと思った。
Dang.
そしたら急に外に出してもらえた。 用済みになったって言った方が正しいかもしれないけど。
Oh, okay, so they learned everything they thought they could from her and they just let her go, which is crazy to imagine.
そう。
私はあなたに救われたの。だから今度は私があなたの力になりたい。
そんなの気にしなくていい。わざわざ僕に会いに来なくてもいいよ。君にはこれから普通に生きてほしい。
普通の生き方なんてわからないから。
Is that how Nanami became part of it, though? Rimi's past, Rimi's feelings, Rimi's resolve. My chest tightened as I remember them all.
なんでリミは僕に近づいてきたの？
彼女は君の近くにいることで、君の行動、君に接触してくる人間のことを監視して、君を覚醒させないようにしていたんだ。
Okay, so Shogun originally didn't want him to awaken.
彼女を読まないであげて。彼女はただ、おせっかいなだけなんだ。
A tinge of sadness appeared in Shogun's voice.
巻き込みたくなかったのに。彼女は僕がどれだけ止めても聞いてくれなかった。勝手に僕に恩義なんか感じて、本当におせっかいだよ。
リミとナナミは誰に捕まってるの？
プロジェクトノアの責任者。すべての黒幕。野呂瀬源一。
Genchi.
かつてリミを捕らえて拷問していた男でもある。それなのにリミはナナミと僕と、そして君を助けるためにあの男のところへたった一人で乗り込んでいっちゃった。
Dang. Remi's pretty cool. A voice echoed within my head. I uttered the words of Rimi I didn't know. Words she had spoken to Shogun. That's the cell phone.
リミ？
私、実はちょっとした報告があります。ナナちゃんをこれから助けに行こうと思って。
やめるんだ。君はあの男、野呂瀬とはもう会いたくないでしょ。
私って信用されてないな。平気だってば。
So this is like the other side of the conversation, like the whole conversation.
昔の話だしね。そもそも私の感情とナナちゃんを助けることとどっちを優先させるかなんて決まりきってることだよ。
ナナミを助けるのも、プロジェクトノアを止めるのも、僕のやるべきことだ。君はそこまでしなくていいんだよ。
言ったでしょ。私はあなたの力になりたいって。それにタクには関わらせたくないの。
おせっかいだね。
そうかもね。あなたにしか言われたことはないけど。ねえ、ちょっとだけ語っちゃっていいかな。
Oh?
タクにね、いろいろひどいこと言っちゃったんだ。しかもそんなことしておいてすごく自分勝手なんだけど、私彼と一緒に過ごした時間はとっても楽しかったって思っちゃってるんだ。
Gotcha.
何もかもが妄想でまみれたまやかしでしかなかったのに、学生生活もあの学校に私やタクが通っていることも、大地と友達だっていうことも、私がタクと一緒にいようとしたことも、タクの存在そのものも、タクってどうしようもないくらい情けなくて、どうしようもないくらい弱くて、きっと普通の女だったら見向きもしないような男の子なんだよ。
Dang. Helpless, weak, pathetic. It's like, sheesh.
なのに私の心には楽しかったっていう気持ちがあるの。 なのに、私の心には、もっと一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちがあるの。
Aw.
この気持ちって、何なのかな。
インプリンティングのようなものかもしれないね。
Imprinting. Yeah. The automatic assumption present in some animals in which a newborn child recognizes the first thing they see is its parent. This can occur even if the parent is of a different species than the child. Even after imprinting occurs, it is possible to force a child to change who they recognize as their parent by presenting them with a substitute.
本能っていうことかな。それって意外とロマンチックかも。
君が楽しかったなら、きっと彼も楽しかったと思うよ。
そうだといいな。私はタクと似たようなものだから。
That's very true. You do have a lot in common. Actually, now I think about it, that's actually super true.
肉体が妄想から作られた存在と、人格が妄想から作られた存在と、どっちも変わらないでしょ。だから、タクのこと消したくなかった。
Oh, interesting. Okay, think about that. Actually, like we have a lot in common. A body created through delusion and a personality created through delusions. So I think that's the difference. Like Taku is the body created through delusion, the body that like this Taku doesn't have. And that implies that Rimi is a personality created through delusion, which means that she's a physically like real person whose personality was manipulated and overwritten. So she was always like a normal person. Maybe she was an orphan, maybe she was like kidnapped or something, but whatever it is, like she's a real person who has a delusional personality, like a delusioned personality. Maybe she was like a vegetable in the hospital, for example. Like a child has an injury, brain dead, and then they introduce a new personality delusionally into her mind and experimented on that. And then he, Taku, is the same personality as the hospitalized Taku, but in a delusioned body that was like manifest. Okay.
消さなくちゃダメだって思ってたんだけどね。でも、いつの間にか感情移入しちゃったみたい。タクにはごく普通に暮らしていってもらいたいの。私はタクミもタクも助けたい。
Interesting. So was Shogun one telling her that he needed to be removed before he could manifest his power, and that's now changed? Because it sounds like she had been asked, like I couldn't bring myself to erase him.
ねえ、タクのことはそっとしておいてあげて。
そういうわけにはいかない。ノア2を破壊するために彼は必要だよ。
私が何とかするから。
君はそんなことしなくていい。君こそごく普通に暮らしていくべきだ。
さてと、そろそろ切るね。
リミ、やめて。
本当に大丈夫だって。あなたは何も心配しないで。私が全部決着をつけてくるから。ね、タクミ。
That changed things, huh? After it was already too late, Remi's words sank into my heart. She really was a hopeless meddler. Why did she have to keep fighting so hard? Why did she have to keep acting so selflessly?
私はタクの味方だから。
Memories of Rimi all came back to me. Memories of the short time we'd spent together until now. Memories of the feelings that had been hiding behind every word she'd said.
私が一緒にいてあげる。
Over the past year and a half, if I had to summarize what I'd done, I'd mostly been ESO, RMT, and eroge. What a rap! I devoted myself entirely to those things, and while staying shut inside my base, I'd barely gone to school and rarely tried to talk to anyone. Born into this world, I'd lived as though I were dead. But for the past month or so, that had changed. So why had she been at that first crucifixion place? Like, why was she there? And even though, as a result of this, I've been lied to.
朝、一緒に学校行って、
She had stayed by the side of someone like me.
学校では休み時間にどうでもいいこと話して、
She'd given me peace of mind when I was quivering in fear.
お昼休みは一緒にご飯食べて、
She had supported the failure that I was, encouraged me.
夕方一緒に帰って、
She had embraced me.
帰るついでにたまにどこかのお店に寄ったりして、
She had taught a delusionary existence like me the warmth that humanity held.
タクの部屋でちょっとだけおしゃべりして、
She could have erased me, and yet she tried to protect me.
それでまた明日ねって手を振って別れて、
She had made memories with me.
そんなのでいいなら私いくらでもしてあげるよ。
In my 1.5-year long life, I could still vividly remember the time I'd spent with her even now.
そういうの結構憧れなんだ。
Aww. She just wanted to be a hero. She wanted to be what that first Shogun, the true Takumi, was to her. Someone who could reach out and like be a hand in the darkness. Rimi's little gestures. Rimi's scent wafting from her hair. Rimi's little sighs and the sound that came from them. Rimi's glimmering eyes. Rimi's cheerful voice. Rimi's tender warmth. Ah, I see. I was in love with Rimi. How disgusting was that? What a freak. A wry smile crept onto my face in response to my own creepiness. A delusionary existence falling in love? Were feelings of love something that delusionary existences could feel, or were they a mere illusion? I really didn't know, but I'd argue that love itself is kind of is an illusion or a delusion if you think about it. Like, really think about it here. Put aside the romanticized thoughts about it. Let's be really objective, right? What's the motivation that is most often attributed to someone willingly putting themselves in danger, willingly throwing their life away, ignoring all the natural instincts that are built into us to keep us alive in order to do something incredibly risky? Think of soldiers at war. Think of moms lifting cars off of children. Think of the childbirth itself, which is a very dangerous and physically traumatic experience. And the motivation behind all of it is love. Love that is a delusion because, delusion has a negative connotation, but think about it. In that case, love is the delusion that makes us override the base instincts that says, I need to survive at the cost of everything else. It says, there's something worth dying for sometimes. There are things worth sacrificing yourself for sometimes. I'd even argue that delusions are things like financial stability. Like, why give up money and put it in an investment when you can't have access to it? Because you believe that it'll work, it'll build up a brighter future. Why invest in exercise and like healthy eating when you just want to eat what makes you feel happy? Like that, the natural response would be just to eat whatever makes you feel the best. But we know like that we delude ourselves with a picture of what can be in order to motivate what we do today. So delusions are normal and are good things. And then love is the greatest delusion. Love is the delusion that encourages us to make the greatest sacrifices, to make the most motivational choices, to stand up when others are being mistreated, to boldly walk into danger willingly because we believe that even if the worst were to happen, that it would be bringing about a greater good. Like, there's nothing rational about that. It's delusionary, but it's one of the most beautiful things in our world. So yeah, love is a delusion. So a delusion falling in love, about as real as it can get, really. I wanted to be true to these feelings. Rimi saw me as a friend. There was no way she saw me as someone of the opposite sex. Besides, an otaku freak like me wouldn't go well together with her. But even so, even if she didn't love me back, even if it was just for my own satisfaction, even if it was just a delusionary existence, I at least wanted to do something for someone, for Rimi, before I disappeared. I was disgusting, and that disgusting otaku freak would fall in love. It was disgusting that a disgusting delusionary existence would fall in love. So what? Even if it was disgusting, even if it wouldn't go anywhere, I didn't want to brush these feelings away as mere illusions or delusions. These memories of the past month were both Rimi's and mine, mutually recognized between us both. Even if the rest were just make-believe, these memories and the feelings born from them were real.
世界を救ってほしい。
So Shogun said. I shook my head.
僕は勇者じゃない。人間でもない。そんな僕に世界を救えとか何を考えてるの？
君には本当に悪いと思ってるけど、君にやってもらうしかないんだ。
自分に謝るなんてバカみたいだ。
I glared at the real me. The real me caught the fake me's gaze.
僕は君が嫌いだ。
僕は君が羨ましいよ。
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do.
僕は世界のためになんか頑張らない。世界を救うとか、そんなことどうでもいい。
I'd be the one to give the meaning to my birth.
ただ、僕はリミを助ける。
ありがとう。
Oh, by the way, yeah, this is getting insane in the background, but I want to point out there that's interesting that I think is like, he hates Shogun for forcing this like lifestyle on him, right? And for like creating a life that's like, that his mere existence brings pain. But Shogun envies him because he has everything that Shogun like lost when he was 12, right? The ability to go to school, the ability to have like a life, to follow your whims, and to have Rimi's affection. Because the thing is, like, he probably really cares for Rimi himself, probably has feelings for Rimi himself, but then Rimi ends up falling for his delusion. That's gotta be hard. Anyway, like I was gonna say, there's like literal blood splattering and people smashing each other with bricks and stuff. This is insane. The sounds around me started coming back. More and more oil was being poured on the fires of chaos. It had already become a riot. I was hit with the smell of blood. Around me I heard sounds of screams, shouts, moans, and mechanical noise that sounded almost like audio feedback. It all pooled together and overflowed across the crossing.
理想度を手に入れる方法を教えて。
Wait, where is it? It's probably here. Amidst all the chaos. Where is it?
君はすでにそれを知っているはずだよ。
I should, come on, I want to see it. I don't want to like hold us back too long, but I feel like we should be able to see it by now. It's gonna be part of the walls or the billboard somewhere. Change your perspective. Change the way you're looking at it all. My gaze moved upward, looking for the silhouette of a sword blending into the scenery. Alright, I want to see if I can find it. It'll probably like slowly fade it into view as we go forward, but I want to see if I can guess where it will be. There's a purple sign with like words on the side. It could be there. I can just hear punches going on. Rocks were thrown around, canisters of tear gas made smoke rise from the ground, and people from every direction crashed into me time and time again. In the center of it all, I focused and sought the sword I'd once seen from the roof of O'Front. It had to be visible already. Without a doubt, it had to be here somewhere. Come on. Let me see it. I wanna feel like cool. I wanna see it. I'm not sure I can. Lost amidst the scenery. My D-sword was always right beside me. Now seize it. Gosh darn it, it must be here somewhere. Where is it? The other thing I was wondering, it's like, will it look the same or will this be a different form? Like, I could see D-Swords, like before you manifest it and like get a good like solid lock on it, it could look somewhat different. Oh, was that where it was?
見つけた。
I didn't see that, dang it! On the building to the right of L7, there was a vertical billboard, and when I looked toward it, I saw the shape of the sword. Oh, maybe I did see that, but like very faintly. Anxiety seeped into me. I swallowed back my saliva. When I had looked from the roof over front, I had been able to perceive its shape. That's a cool picture right there. But in the end, I hadn't been able to physically grasp it.
自分の意志を強く持つんだ。迷っちゃダメだからね。君にはもう、剣を手に入れる資格は十分にある。
I extended my hand as I stood in place. In order to save someone dear to me, I had to get it no matter what. No matter what. I gritted my teeth. This wouldn't be like last time. My mind was surprisingly calm. I wasn't afraid. I couldn't be afraid. But it wasn't that I was keeping a cool head. Emotions simmered and boiled inside me. I had something I needed to do.
掴むんだ。
107 was about 100 meters away, and upon overlapping my fist with the sword, I grasped it. Gotcha. Even though I should have grabbed empty spot in the air, there was something there. It was neither hot nor cold, neither hard nor soft. Keeping my hold on it, I drew it closer to me. Ripples surfaced across the air, and within those ripples it slid free. Boom. Oh, he looks so cool now! He's earned it. He's earned looking cool. Dang. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. All too long to be called a sword. Delicate enough to shatter at a moment's notice. Pervade with phantasmal elegance. Lacking any metriosis, I don't know what that is, features, absent of all garnishes. With an immaculate malice capable of swallowing one's soul whole. One on which belonged an awe-inspiring beauty. Linking with my exalted heart, the design of the sinister flame on the handles flickered. I didn't feel even an ounce of weight. Rather, it was as if it was an extension of my arm, as though it had been there from the very beginning, as though it were a part of my own body. I didn't feel like I was holding a sword. So this was a D-sword. I grasped it firmly with both hands. Should have been able to real boot it now. If I got it to be mutually recognized by my surroundings, the sword would be brought forth into reality. And for how to do it, I didn't know. I simply desired it. I shouted within my heart for it to become reality. All hesitation within me was gone. There we go. The D-sword, as if answering my call, started faintly shining. The flame pattern on the hilt transformed into real flames, flames which swiftly enveloped the sword, and yet I felt no heat. Soon enough, those flames were swallowed by the entirety of the sword's body and... Oh, look at that! Together with a fierce impact, the D-sword shone with a crimson light. A number of people around me were surprised by my sword. There he is, look at that. Very berserker stance he's got. However, it was only a handful of them. Only a handful were left dumbfounded by its appearance. The others were too focused on punching and kicking each other. The riots didn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
この暴動を引き起こしているポーターたちを探すんだ。彼らの持つ機械を破壊すれば、バイオリズムの高騰も収まる。
ポーター。
ノア2の端末としての存在。君はすでにそのヒントを見てきたはずだよ。
Yeah.
君の頭の中に。それは記憶として刻まれている。
I called forth all that I'd seen. I wish I'd been able to see the sword, but it's cool I didn't. How do we have this memory though? No one was with her. Oh, he's seeing all the memories of all the Giglomaniacs.
ようやく尻尾を出したんだ。そいつを掴んで離さねえようにしないとね。
I wonder if Ban was a Giglomaniac then. It implies he might have been here.
辛いんですね。
有限会社シンゴ聞いたことあるかい？
点 L2 の8 0.62 メガ GE ハイスコアです。
Yeah, there they are.
どんな停止なのこりゃ。
望み
The backpack and the symbol. That's the symbol we need to find. I feel like I've seen that symbol before, though.
我が社ではポーターと呼んでいます。言い換えればマインドコントロールのための部隊といったところでしょうか。
Mind control units. Those big green backpacks. All the things I'd unconsciously seen, all the thoughts I'd unconsciously read.
僕は盗撮野郎ってことか。お似合い
That one character. Shogun calmly gave me orders that I laughed at myself.
チャネルを解放してポーターたちの心を読むんだ。コズピーのようにね。
Kozupi, yeah.
彼らはこのスクランブル交差点のどこかに居場所を探り当てて。
I opened my channel. I didn't have to think about what to do. Without being conscious of it, I enacted it by feel alone. I'm trying to see, like, for this one, like, this, so, by the 107 building, I think it was, like, I think I was kind of looking in the right spot, but I didn't see it, so that's unfortunate. Okay. Think. Feel. Use the force! And then the minds of everyone here, their negative emotions, became visible and instantly flowed into me. Oh, jeez, look at that. Malice, hatred, envy, lust, civility, cowardice, superficiality, corruption, cunning, indecency, hideousness, vulgarity, libido, madness, bloodthirst. It was the manifestation of the unsightly emotions people hid from one another, more brutal, unequivocal, and repugnant than words could ever be. All the negative emotions people held inside them became a torrent of images, and this torrent proceeded to swallow up, shatter, and violate my mind. I was verbally abused by words of disdain. Gazes of contempt rained down on me. I was spat on. My nails were peeled off. I was punched in the face multiple times. I was kicked in the A. My hair was torn out. My nose was chewed to shreds. My eyeballs were gouged out. Oh, lovely. My tongue was ripped from my mouth. My blood was sucked. I was showered with boiling water and covered with burns. I was graped in the A. Dang. Jeez. Holy crap. All my skin was torn off. My arms were broken. All my bones were broken. I was beaten with a blunt weapon. I was stabbed with a blade. My organs were gouged out. My neck was strangled. My flesh was eaten by a giant beast. I was thrown off the high place. Drowned in a pool of water. I had my entire body burned to fly flames. Having synchronized with it all, my mind was being broken. I felt like I was about to go insane. I gritted my teeth and desperately held on to my consciousness. Was this how Kazuki had lived her whole life?
見るべき妄想をコントロールするんだ。全てを受信しちゃダメだ。標的を絞り込んで。
Dang, yeah.
音を頼りにするんだ。
The sound. All while enduring the negative emotions overwhelming me, I listened carefully. What came to me were voices from all around. Isolating them, I searched for the sound. I heard mechanical sounds, one that Siratan had said would kill me. The sound had also been inside the memories I'd gotten from reading mine. Senna had destroyed the porter's rucksack and had emitted a sound with her D-sword. So if I were to focus on that sound, the delusion I heard... Okay, that's the sound. There were multiple voices, there were more than one porter here.
3人いるみたいだね。
Holding my breath, I took a step forward. In front of me was the chaotic crowd. Without a trace of order, they moved throughout the scramble crossing as they pleased, beating each other within an inch of their lives. It would be difficult to go straight through. I hacked the delusion of the people in direction of the target. And so, little by little, the people in my field of view made way, and there a path was made for me. He imagines that they parted, and they do. That's crazy. There was a single man about 50 meters from me, and all the obstacles between me and him had now been removed. Our eyes met. He was a plump man in a suit wearing a rucksack on his back.
一人目。
Taking the shortest path there, I ran. Straight ahead, through the crowd, without bumping into anyone. All while dragging my D-sword along with me. The porter, having noticed me, frantically turned around and tried to run, but I wouldn't allow it. Just like Senna, I swung my D-sword, blade longer than I was tall. As always, it felt weightless. I could wield it like it was an extension of my arm. Down! The tip of the D-sword dug into the rucksack, and then almost as if it had been melted in an unfathomable high temperature, its contents were vaporized. The man sank to the ground, cradling his head as he trembled from fear. Without looking at him even one more time, I headed for the second one. Below O front. Once again, the obstacles leading up to it began to disappear, and the path was built. The thing is, like, with like such high levels, I'm guessing that it makes delusions easier to manifest, which is why they're doing it, because they want to manifest their own delusion. But it means giving powerful tools and capabilities to those who might resist, which is cool. The man who just stood there was extremely thin, wearing a checkerboard shirt and a pair of jeans. He had long hair, and his skin was alarmingly pale. He seemed to be holding a bag, which he was treating with great care. Noticing me, he tried to blend into the crowd, but before he could do anything, I threw my D-sword. Fly. I formed a delusion. Ignoring all known laws of physics, it flew parallel to the ground, soaring faster and faster. That's such a cool idea. Like, the only limits you'd have if you were a gigamaniac would literally be your imagination. You just have to imagine and believe it can happen. Like, truly believe. That you have to override your own instincts, your own inhibitions, and your own like lifetime of experience, and just say, no, that's not how that works. It works like this, and it can. It's actually why Taku probably is so terrifying too. He's a delusion, right? But he's a delusion grown from someone who has mastered this control, and he has such a powerful imagination and is so disconnected from reality that he manifests delusions like by reflex and can believe in them. So in a way, despite how much of a Taku freak he is, he's the perfect person for this. I wonder if I would have made a good gigamaniac in this world. Like, really, because I have a really, really crisp imagination to the point where I have, to this day, majority of my dreams are lucid dreams. And I've always had a measure of control over them. I also can see in my head these like vibrant pictures and movies and like I call them movies, but it's just like daydreaming, but it can feel so vivid and real, especially if I lose myself in it. I can have tactile feeling, I can have these sensations. So it makes me wonder if this were real, if this was something, an actual power that could manifest, it might be one of the first times I'd be like, you know what? As much as despite whatever flaws might be in this story, it might be one of the first stories that makes me feel like if this were reality, it would almost feel like I naturally would have a place in the story. Not just like, oh, it'd be nice to have a place in the story and feel a part of it, but like legitimately, I wonder if I could be considered a gigamaniac in this universe. I don't know if I'm quite as like powerful or have such a strong a will as the characters we see, but it makes me wonder, right? Especially in a situation or a setting where like the things are being manipulated to this point where they're trying to encourage gigamaniacs. I really wonder. It delicately corrected its path and pierced the man's bag with unmatched accuracy. He emitted a faint light and the man fell to the ground. Just one more. I approached the man now on the ground and retrieved my D-sword. The third one was in front of Hachiko. I had seen the porter countless times by now. Actually, let me be more precise. I had talked to them almost every day. The crowd dissipated, and for the third time, a direct path appeared. And at the end of it was a woman wearing white scrubs, a face that made her conspicuous as could be. The nurse!
あなたが3人目です。葉月さん。
Yeah.
いや。グリム。
Grim? She's Grim? What? Are you serious? Why is she Grim? What? How do you... What? No. The nurse who had smiled so gently at me at the hospital was now glaring daggers at me. She had a large handbag with her. Most likely it was the NOAA 2 terminal inside.
真実を暴くんだ。彼女がしてきたことをこの場にいる人たちに提示すれば、この熱病のような混乱は収まる。
What she did?
彼女がグリムなら、これまでの不自然な言動に君は気づいているはず。
Dang. Yeah, she's had a lot. And gosh darn it. One of the better designs of characters we've seen. No wonder. Of course she's evil.
僕が最初に君に接触した時のことを思い出して。僕は君に貼り付け事件の予言をした。君への継承だった。
Right.
でも僕よりも先に 貼り付けを予言した人間がいる。
Oh. I remembered. I remembered the exchange we'd had at the time. A few moments before Shogun talked to me for the first time, Grimm had left the chat room, but right before that, they'd posted an image as a joke, a drawing. That's right. And it was a drawing that she made. The drawing that we saw scribbled in the medical book. I didn't think about the fact that that was the same drawing. I thought it was a reference. Oh, that's cool. The very same drawing Hazuki had scribbled on the medical chart. The drawing had been very poorly done, but what mattered was that the depiction, the crucifixion case. Besides, the first time Grimm had talked to me about the NewGen case, they had said this: "It's all up to your all up in your neighborhood, lol." Even though I had never told them I lived in Shibuya. Even a few hours earlier, Grimm had left some comments that made it seem like they knew I was not Nishijo Takumi. You're a celebrity, so you'll be the center of attention. That's right. Why didn't I notice that? I kind of figured that Grimm knew that information through, like, out of context conversations, but that's kind of a cool idea. The second time I'd gone to the hospital, Hazuki-san had said,
高階先生はもういません.
And a week later, Dr. Takashina's corpse had been found. I swallowed back my saliva.
あの人が真犯人?
Her mind was right before me. If I looked inward, I could see.
信仰の救いあれ.
Midnight fell on AH Tokyo General Hospital, the place where Hazuki Shino's work. With one of its operating rooms, the nurse stood nearly still. On the bed lay a young man, Konoma Chizuru. The sleeping pills he'd been given had induced a deep coma in him.
信仰の救いあれ.
As she repeated the same words over and over like a Buddhist prayer, Hazuki crossed her large, swollen abdomen. She slowly removed her white scrubs and sat atop the operating table, scalpel in hand. Oh gosh, no. Oh no.
救いあれ.
Alright, so I'm not gonna make that a thumbnail. That's horrific. That... Oh no. Then, with no anesthesia to speak of, she incised her own abdomen. What? An incision so masterfully done, it would have earned her incredible praise from surgeons and obstetricians alike. Although she was a mere nurse, her surgical skills were quite remarkable. Even while enduring the uninhibited pain of her self-surgery, the incision she made in her abdomen was performed with the utmost dexterity. Blood and amniotic fluid flowed from the wound, her face contorted in pain. Then, after a few grueling moments passed, Hazuki inserted her own hand in her abdomen, and from within her she removed a blood-stained fetus. That's horrific. Holy crap. That's the most horrifying thing I think I've ever read. That might be one of the most horrifying things I've ever even... I didn't need that in my brain. That's way worse than anything I've ever seen, like, in the Dead Space series. Like, they try and make that as, like, grotesque as possible, and I think they have something that's similar theme to that, but that's way worse because of where this is coming from contextually. The fetus had yet to reach full maturity, and its forced removal had already ended its life prematurely. Hazuki performed an omphalmotomy, cutting the umbilical cord. Upon completion of this, she embraced her child lovingly, then placed it in a stand next to the operating table. With her hands now free, she began suturing her wound. The whole ordeal took nearly an hour to complete. With the sheer amount of pain the procedure procured, any normal person would have fainted long ago. Returning the fetus to her embrace, she stood up from the operating table and approached the man lying on the bed. With the bloodshot eyes, she looked down toward the unconscious man's face and thrust the scalpel into his abdomen. The movement was reckless and without care, providing a vast contrast to how delicately and accurately she had torn open her own abdomen before. The pain roused the man, but before he could consider any hope of escape, he realized both his arms and legs were tied securely to the bed. Disregarding the man's screams, Hazuki drew back the scalpel she had used to stab him, and cut through his flesh, tore through skin. Blood gushed forth, covering his face in crimson.
信仰の救いをあなたに.
She neared her hands to the victim's wound, and then she forcibly began to widen it horizontally. The sound of flesh being torn open echoed throughout the operating room. Oh, cool. I didn't need sleep. I didn't need to have, like, good dreams. No, this is going to be great. The man's body started violently convulsing as the pain forced him to undergo a cycle of fainting, then waking up again. As she gazed at the gaping wound, Hazuki smiled a gentle smile. Then she took her own child, which she had just taken from herself, and forcibly pushed it inside the man's gaping wound. That's so horrific. Midnight fell on AH Tokyo General Hospital, the place of Hazuki Shino's work. Within one of its operating rooms, the nurse stood nearly still. On the bed lay her psychiatrist colleague, Takashino Fumio. He was tied to the bed, but this was not the only thing that had been done to him. His cranium had been opened, his brain was exposed, his skull had been cut cleanly, the line being right above his eyes.
Takashina sensei ni shinkou no sukui are.
Hazuki-kun, こんなことやめろ!
Takashino was conscious. Due to the effect of the anesthesia, he did not feel any pain from the cut. The utter dread he felt kept his eyes open wide and his body sweated greatly. Can you imagine? Like, the lines from here up, it's just skull's gone, brain exposed. Ignoring Takashina's plea for his life, Hazuki retrieved a shiny silver utensil from the pocket of her white scrubs. A utensil that could not be referred to as a traditional surgical tool. It was a spoon. Oh no, an all too ordinary piece of tableware. Hazuki reveled in ecstasy as if enjoying a meal of curry and rice. She took a spoonful of Takashina's brain. She then took the spoon and violently cast the contents onto the stainless steel tray, the pink brain tissue pulped in a jelly-esque substance. Hazuki thrust the spoon inside the brain once again. This time, however, she accumulated even more matter than she had the first time and scraped away the brain tissue. Takashina's own brain was getting removed from his body, yet he felt no pain, nor did he lose consciousness. As well as this, the anesthesia had robbed him of any freedom of movement whatsoever. All the man could do was tremble in fear. Can you even imagine what that would be like? Like, it wouldn't kill you immediately, but you'd slowly lose your ability for reasoning and thinking. Hazuki Shino looked up at the projection in shock. On the Scramble Crossing's 4 massive jumbotrons, her very own memories were being shown. She couldn't even understand how it was being done. Perhaps it was Nishijo Takumi's power as a gigglomaniac. With his head hung low, a D-sword in his hand, Nishijo Takumi murmured those words. The riot came to a halt. Silence is now a ruling entity. The thousands of people who had been assailing each other until only a moment ago were now looking up toward the screens. Some went pale, some averted their eyes, some felt such horror it compelled them to vomit. The mass media were starting to record Hazuki with their cameras. Countless blinding flashes ensued.
あなたがニュージェネ事件の真犯人だったんだ。
私の記憶を映像に投影したんですね。
もう言い逃れはできませんよ。胎児とあなたの DNA を鑑定すればわかることです。どうしてあんなことを。ねえ、クリム。
ナイトハルト。すべては教祖様のお言葉なんですよ。
Yeah, who's that? Hazuki plunged her hand into her bag resting over her shoulder. From it, she retrieved both the NOAH 2 terminal port and a scalpel. She gripped the scalpel and placed it right against her throat. Due to the nature of her position as a nurse, she knew the location of the carotid artery all too well. Hazuki smiled at Nishijo Takumi with a kind smile, much like the one she'd used oft to show her patients. Dang. As her own blood gushed forth from her neck, her entire body was painted a bright crimson. Oh, that's probably not good. I didn't know who, but someone had mumbled those words. After seeing the sheer number of gazes piercing through me, I realized that those words were also directed at me. In front of a countless number of people, Hazuki Shino had committed suicide via slitting her throat. Although calling it a martyrdom might have been more accurate, the choking smell of blood filled the air. The riot had now entirely stopped. Hazuki Shino's memories of the crime she'd committed, which I'd projected directly onto the Jumbotrons, ended up being a perfect thing to make the excited parts of the mob quiet down. The shocking nature of what I'd displayed left everyone at a loss for words. Even now, Hazuki Shino's corpse is still bleeding. A number of people then walked up to it and began kicking it. That's so horrifying. It was the corpse of an atrocious murderer, so there were no respects to be paid here. Next, they might even publicly behead her like it was the Middle Ages. What difference was there between her and the ones kicking her corpse? By their very nature, humans were disgusting, horrible creatures, myself included. The media, like hyenas, were accumulating around anything that could act as a scoop. Roughly half of them had gathered around Hazuki Shino's corpse, and the other half were surrounding me.
Nishijo-kun! お見事でした。
今のは超能力ですか？やはりエスパーだったんですね。すごいです。
今日のこの集まりは初めから真犯人をおびき寄せるためのものだったの？
あなたの超能力は何歳頃に現れたものなんですか？
子供の頃のあだ名は神道とか呼ばれたことある？
今後警察の捜査に協力する予定は？
うちの局の番組に出てくれないかな？
Of course. Gosh darn it, they're sharks! One after another, endless words of praise were thrown my way.
西条よくやったぞ
たくみくんこっち向いて
お前すげえよ
好きです付き合ってください
Oh, sure. One after another, the endless words of affection were thrown my way. I felt hollow hearing those voices, a fabricated image formed of by public opinion, and a delusionary being. They weren't all too different, were they? Oh, that's true, too. And heck, it's probably not as much for me, but the way we all view, like, any form of entertainment, we really should remember that what we see is a delusion because it's a front, or, like, you're seeing only a slice, and most often even an act. A bit, a personality that someone's projecting. That's how actors do it. That's how a lot of entertainers do it. I probably do too. Like, I mean, I don't show you or tell you everything about my life. A lot of that's from my own protection and, you know, to isolate like a public from the private. But at the same time, I do feel like I show you more of my natural self than I think a lot of other creators do. But that's just because I'm earnest to a fault. I struggle. I don't feel like I could put on like a persona and keep it up and make it, even if I did, it would have to be so similar to me, it wouldn't really matter. But a lot of the people who I find most like entertaining, and that you as well, it is a delusion. Takumi. It was all coming back. The energy they'd all shown when they'd seen me up on top of O-Front. There he is. Unable to take it anymore, I screamed. Tears started flowing. I felt completely miserable. I felt completely ridiculous. I didn't have it in me to keep going without crying. I wasn't a hero. Oh, jeez, dude. Oh, boy. Oh, I would get, yeah, it's like, Eroge is like, it's 18 plus, like, he's not even supposed to be able to get his hands on it, right? Interesting. Yeah, that's the thing, too, it's like, it's weird because, like, there's a lot of people who would probably say I do the same thing. Well, maybe, like, first of all, like, if I do play at Eroge, it's because it's a small part of the story. I don't moe over sprites of CG. Oh, or do I? Is moe just like being like, oh, that's so cool and admiring the art? Then I guess I do that. That's me. Okay, I don't do that, but I could get that. Dang, that's probably too relatable for a lot of people. Tears and mucus smeared down my face. I forgot I was being broadcast live across the entire country. It didn't even occur to me that I was shaming myself yet again. I couldn't help it. I was physically incapable of reading the room. Oh, to be fair, you just did a lot on your own that was pretty impressive. The voices around me went quiet. The onlookers sank into silence. The people from the media looked at me dubiously. Within the heart of the Shibuya, in the middle of the humongous scramble crossing, only my voice was echoing.
それが僕だ。お前らに他人に僕っていう人間を決めさせない。僕の本質は僕が決める。僕はお前らのおもちゃじゃない。見せ物なんかにはならない。僕にはやるべきことがあるんだ。僕はお前たちなんかのために行動しない。
Rimi's smile appeared in my mind.
僕はただ
For the sake of those I care about, I was here to fight then disappear. But before I could voice that, I suddenly noticed that the night sky was reflected in the corner of my eye was turning pure white. Ah, fetch! It wasn't a cloud, nor was the snow falling a little too early in the year. By the time I realized it was the same phenomenon from back when the earthquake had hit, it was already too late.
サードメルト予定より早い。
Here we go. First thing I felt was the very earth itself beginning to rumble. The ground began to shake. The white in the sky was spreading farther and farther. The very next moment, I was struck with a violent ringing in my ears. It was such intense, shrill, resonating sound, my head felt like it was about to burst open. Everyone else around me was covering their ears too. And then... the world was dyed completely white. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. Oh! Chapter 10, Silent Sky. I imagine this is gonna be rough. Okay, we're gonna stop here. It's perfect ending point. Like at the end of a chapter, explosion, the whole world's like the whole world. But I imagine Shibuya is I would imagine Inside Out would be the perfect way to describe it. It's gonna be rough when we wake up, but we have work to do. We still have Rimi and Nanami to save. We gotta find a solution. We gotta figure out what's gonna happen next. But oh man. That was cool. A lot of self-reflection there. Very long episode again. I can't help myself. Really good, though. So thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. I certainly had fun with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. So I feel like we are building towards the end, but not the true end. People confirmed in the comments last episode that it is indeed a fact that there's a canon end. Well, there's two things, apparently. There's a first route end, which is like what we're playing. It's kind of the one you're forced into. No real choices matter, like as far as like choosing route goes. I don't know if there's other choices that matter, but they probably do. And then after that, we'll have a means of doing a split where we can choose multiple routes, which I'll probably do like 1 or 2 for the channel, and then I'll play the others on my own. And then there's like a true route that we'll have to unlock. So I'll figure out how to do that, and we'll showcase the true ending. It's very similar to how I did the Steins Gate playthrough, where we showcase a few of the routes. I played all the routes, but then if there is a true ending, we always go for the true ending. So if that's the case here, and I'm understanding it correctly, that's what we're going to go for. But, whew, I already said a lot, so I don't know if there's much else I could say there. I think it's cool, the depictions and the idea of, like, being able to master your blind spots, which is really the key, I think, to manifesting delusions. I love that concept. That makes a lot of sense because it's utilizing what we know to be real, actual biological delusions that our bodies use. I also think it's very interesting to turn the weakness of someone being so absorbed into like into the fictional worlds that they can manifest like delusions into reality. Like turning that weakness into a strength is a very fun and appealing concept for a lot of people. I think it's very interesting. The concepts and executions have actually been really good. It confused me for like a lot of the story up until now, but now that things are kind of falling into place and the explanations are there, it's actually really well done, and I'm very, very happy with it. Very, very impressed with the creativity, execution, and the fact. I remember I said a long time ago that I said as long as there's like a structure that they follow that's consistently maintained, I'll probably be a big fan of it. And so far, yes, I feel like they are delivering on the promises. They are explaining things in ways that make a progressive it makes progressive logical sense. I also think that the twists that they held back and revealed slot into place. I think the nurse is crazy that she was not only grim. That's the connection that's like with I'm impressed that he was able to make that connection just kind of out of the blue, but if he's reading her mind, it makes sense. So the fact that she was grim and manipulating us online is crazy, and then that she was the killer is also crazy. That was horrific too, by the way. Holy crap. But when all is said and done, I also think there's something that there is odd, or like it's a discredit to the game and to the story so far. Is that the way it's played things out and the way events have been kind of orchestrated? It feels so, I guess, ham-fisted. It feels like there's a lot of coincidences that have happened. Now, maybe we can mark that arbitrarily up to Nozomi and Shogun's interference in the background, making sure that like people were where they needed to be and situations were manipulated to be where they were and how they played out. But it just feels like too many things were coincidences. So hopefully, like, it will I think that can be forgiven, but it is kind of like the one thing that's making me a bit hesitant of being like, this is an incredible story, because it feels like there are events and the way things have played out that feel like too ham-fisted. So a good example of that being the nurse. We know she's behind like the fetus one and the brain, but was she involved in all of them? No, like we only saw a few. So it sounds like she was involved, but like Suo was probably the one who was on the rooftop as well. That like either that or it was Shogun, because it definitely had the wheelchair like sound up there. But we also know that Suo used a wheelchair in his stuff, so it makes more sense it would be Suo. But that's like, okay, and he used the same light, like made the divine light shine. So they're part of that cult group, it seems like. So multiple people are part of the NewGen murders. This is interesting. There's a lot of still good questions to be answered, so I'm interested to see how it's all going to play out. But we'll leave that all for next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Looking forward to seeing how this kind of resolves in this first arc, and then get to explore the game in the future. That'll be a lot of fun. Very, very happy with this, and very curious to see. Man, this feels like it's going to be a really long game, because it feels like we've already had a lot of episodes, and if there's still like entire branches to explore and a true ending to unlock, that's like so much. But I really think my favorite part about the whole thing was that idea of like kind of like making that connection I think they intended to do, that love is a delusion, just like any of the other delusions we're seeing here. It's something that doesn't exist, has no real logical means or reason to exist, and yet it does, and it motivates some of the most important decisions people have made throughout history, and I think that's really important. I think that's if there's any driving message, that should be the one we remember. So let's see where love takes us from here, huh? But thank you so much for being here, especially to patrons and members for your support. I really appreciate it. I've got some kind of major stuff coming up in the future, so I'm going to be making some big announcements within the next month. I also really deserve to give you a patron cast, even though it's like exhausting trying to find time to do stuff like that. I'm going to do my best to try and make that happen soon, so keep an eye out for that. But until the next video you're watching me, I happen to see me in next. I'll see you there.